Hello everyone, welcome to our middle school distance learning orientation video for semester 2. Because in-person learning is not yet allowed, we started distance learning this school year for the first semester, and we had planned on shifting in second semester to our blended learning model, but unfortunately this is not allowed yet. So we hope and pray that this will happen sometime soon. But as of now, we continue with our distance learning model. And this video is meant to give you a refresher of what is happening, how is it all designed, the distance learning model. And if you're a new parent or a new student to Faith Academy or a returning student, this will introduce you as well to how we have set up our program. Before we dive in, I want to remind all of us of our school theme this year, seasoned, full of grace. And this is connected to the verse from Colossians 4:6. Let your speech always be gracious, seasoned with salt, so that you may know how you ought to answer each person. Maybe we are inclined to grumble and be super frustrated with this sudden change we had anticipated and hoped for, looked forward to coming back to school in-person classes. And I detect in myself like, oh, I want to be like, express like frustration about that. But this verse reminds me as well, like, let your speech always be gracious, even when these expectation doesn't push through, or if we've worked so hard to prepare it all and to set it all up, and then it is cancelled sort of at the last minute. So let us spur each other on and challenge each other to have our words, our speech always be gracious, so that we may know how we ought to answer each person, and more importantly, honor our Creator. So, the distance learning model in Faith Academy. We will have our school hours from 8:30 in the morning until 3:30 in the afternoon. In the mornings you will have classes, and in the afternoon you can continue with the work that you do for these classes. So hours are somewhat flexible, except for the start time, of course. It depends on your preference, your needs, and your the pace of your work. So we continue the odd and even weeks. You don't have the same exact schedule every week. You will have 4 subjects per week. Math and English will always be the same, and then 2 other subjects. Fridays are usually the same, with chapel in the morning at 8:30, followed by advisory, and then PE. Your workout schedule is posted. You have to do PE throughout the weeks in your own time. But on Fridays, sometimes the teacher will connect with you in a live call. For English, you may have some extra reading to do for the book that you're discussing in class. That can happen on Friday as well. And then sometimes you haven't been able to finish all the work from the week, from Monday through Thursday. So on Fridays, you have a catch-up day. It's not a free day, it's not a day off, but it's making sure that you can finish all the work that was given to you that week, so that you can start your weekends without any late work, and you can start your new school week after with a clean slate. We have some electives. In grade 7 and 8, you choose an elective, and in grade 6, you will do art in second semester. As I said, Fridays are chapel, advisory. I will explain a little bit more here. Advisory is an intentional community and relationship building with a focus on spiritual formation and fun. Everybody is divided into smaller groups of boys only, girls only, and with your advisory teacher, you work through a program of fun stuff, praying for each other, focusing on God's word a little bit, and be involved in the Battle of the Squads, which is an online fun game where we challenge each other's advisory groups or squads. As I said, the PE and workout schedule, the reading time, and the catch-up time. We do this for 6 weeks in a row. So you work for 6 weeks, like an odd week, odd, even, and then you will have 1 week of break sometime in February. And then after that week of break, you will start block 2 with, again, 6 weeks of classes with an odd week, an even week, an odd week, even, odd, even, and then followed by 1 week of break again. And by that time, it's April. And then lastly, the third block after that April break, you will have 6 more weeks of odd, even, odd, even, odd, even classes. And then the summer break starts. This is what it looks like. I will briefly pause here, or you can pause the video actually if you want to study this well. But this is what the first block looks like with the break at the end in sort of, what is that color? Orangey, yellow. And then the second block and the third block, and then May 27 is actually your last day of the school year. I talked about the odd and even week. So this is what the schedule looks like for an odd week. Your first week in school, when you start on Monday, you see it for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. On the left side for grade 6. So you start with a check-in meeting in your advisory group. You will be in a Google Classroom for each class and also for your advisory class. So you click on the link in the Google Classroom, the Meet link, and then you will end up in a session with your advisory teacher for about 10 to 15 minutes just to check in, to take attendance, to see how you're doing, and then you shift to your first class. Now it's listed in a certain order here: English, math, electives, and science. And as I said, in grade 6 it is art, the electives. And then in the afternoon, some more hours for finishing your work. English and math have about 45 minutes of work, and electives and science have about 90 minutes of work per week. But yet electives and science are only taught every other week. Hence the difference in minutes. Now, you don't have to follow this order. If you want to start with math or with your electives, you can. You just check the work that you need to do for that day in the Google Classroom. But this is also, this schedule, what you see here, is the Google Meet schedule. So at least one time a week, your teacher will schedule a meeting with you on Google Meet, a live or synchronous session, and that is at these particular time slots. So if you're in grade 6 and your English teacher wants to meet you, that always happens at 9 a.m. And it can last until 9:45. Sometimes it's a little bit shorter. The math class for grade 6 will meet at 9:50 to 10:35, etc. Not every day, but if they schedule it. And we will send you a Google Meet link schedule per week, so it's updated every week, so you know which classes have a Google Meet session scheduled for which day. Same for grade 7. You start with your advisory group, then you go to, you can start your electives or your science or your math or your English, but those are the classes that you have. And this order is the order of the Google Meet sessions. If they happen, then they happen at these particular times. So if your science teacher schedules a Google Meet session, that will always be at 9:50. It can be on Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday, or maybe even sometimes 2 times a week. That depends on the teacher. And for grade 8, you can see the same thing, just the order of the Google Meet schedule is different. But that week or that day, you will also work on math, English, science, and electives. Okay, and then Fridays is the same for everyone. You have advisory, up top here in the grayish area, a chapel, and that is in a live session at 8:30 to 9 p.m. a.m. And then advisory from 9 to 9:45-ish. And then if the PE teacher has scheduled a meeting, you will meet with her at 9:50 if you're in grade 6, at 10:40 if you're in grade 7, or 11:30 if you're in grade 8. And then the other times you can do the reading for English if you have any, or finish all your late and missed work. Okay, so that's the schedule for the odd weeks. And then the even weeks, almost the same. The order is the same. But as you can see now, you don't have an elective, you don't have science, but instead of those 2 subjects, you have 2 new subjects, social studies and Bible. That goes for everyone. And here, this is the Google Meet scheduled again. So if your teacher schedules a meeting at a certain time, you can find the times right here. Moving on, so as you can understand, you will have a core curriculum of Bible, English, Math, Science, and Social Studies, and then the electives. So in grade 6, it's not really an elective, but I've scheduled you for art, and in grade 7, you were given a choice of the following classes that you can see here: Art 1 and 2, Computer, Video and Web, or Robotics 1 and 2. For grade 8, the same, except they can also choose a Mandarin, which is a full year class. So if you chose it at the beginning of the year, you will just continue that class, and then the PE and advisory. We don't have academic music classes during distance learning, unfortunately, but you can follow private instrument lessons with Mr. Holmes for band and Mrs. Sung for strings. They offered private instrument lessons online on a weekly basis, so you can keep up with developing your instrumental skills free of charge. The lessons are offered to students who already know how to play a band or strings instrument and are really motivated to put in at least 20 minutes of practice a day. It's not an official Faith Academy class. It will not appear in your report card. Instruments can be rented from Faith Academy and signed out through the music teachers. And if you are interested in this, they may even be open to helping you learn a new instrument. I'm not sure about that piece, but you can email the band teacher, Mr. Holmes, at brendan.holmes@faith.edu.ph and Mrs. Sung at mijin.sung.faith.edu.ph. So how do you start working? So on Monday at 8:30, you will join your Google Meet advisory class. The teacher will provide you with access to the classroom and with a link, so you can click on the link and you end up in the Google Meet session, and there you start your week. And if that is over, you can start with going to your first Google Classroom, for example, for English or for math or whatever you want to start with. And then teachers post the classwork on the Google Classroom the night before the class starts. So you start working through all the work that is posted there. If you have questions, you can also ask questions there. Test quizzes and projects that will be graded are entered into Google Classroom at the beginning of a module unit. Coursework is mostly asynchronous with synchronous weekly meetings that I just explained, and Google Meet sessions are on assigned days. So if you want to start with math on Monday morning, but there is an English Google Meet session scheduled, you cannot start your math. You first have to go to that required meeting. Then we start the week with the check-in meetings, as I said, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 8:30. For about 10 minutes for checking in with your advisory teacher for attendance to see how you're doing, if you need some academic help or reminders for missing work. That's what the advisory teacher does, or just seeing how what kind of support you need. Sometimes you're struggling with your academic classes, falling behind, and then we want to see if we can give you some support in one way or the other. Fridays, there are no check-in meetings, but there's a required chapel session going on, and we will take attendance every time for that as well. It's required to be there, and then the chapel is followed by your regular advisory meeting. So you have the daily check-in meetings that are just short, and then on Friday, the longer advisory meeting. The classwork is partly online materials and partly hard copy materials. The math teachers give out a book, a workbook, and social studies teachers usually send or have a textbook ready for pickup. Parents can pick up materials for their children on January 14th for the first time. So be on the lookout for an email from Mrs. McKay, the principal intern. She will communicate more details about that pickup and who has materials waiting for him or her. If you're outside the country, you obviously cannot pick up materials, but all or most materials are available online as well as scanned documents and that sort of thing. And sometimes you need to be a little bit creative and find or buy it yourself in the country where you're at. For example, art supplies and the like. Feedback from teachers for daily classwork and smaller projects. You can expect feedback within the day or the end of next day, depending on what time it is, of course, when you submit your work. And then for bigger assignments and projects before the end of the next school week, you will have your feedback. We will use Google Meet as our video conferencing tool for teacher-student engagement and student-to-student engagement at least once a week. Allocated time between 9 and 12:15, and then teachers may schedule extra meetings as well, or extra times that they are available to meet up online during office hours between 1 p.m. and 3:30. So small groups or individually, if you want to meet with a teacher, you can request it, and sometimes the teacher requests it. There is a supplies list. You can click on the link in this slideshow that I will send to you as well in the email in which I send this video to you, so you can roughly see what is needed per grade, and you can buy that. This is mostly focused on in-person classes. So obviously, if you have a different way of writing things down, or you have a different workbook, that's fine for now during your distance learning time. As I said, we use the Google Classroom. So how do you get there? You can click on this link as well. It's actually http://classroom.google.com, and that will get you to the landing page of the Google Classroom, where you will see all your classroom in these boxes. And then you can click on all of these boxes and enter your different classrooms. Every class also has a course description document per class. I can click on this one and you will see an example of the web design class. I will not go through this. This is just an example where the teacher introduces the class, a description, the equipment that you need, what the procedures are, some expectations that you may have from the teacher and that the teacher has from you, and the assessment plan, like how your grade will be determined, and the grading scale. So every teacher has that or will post that in his or her classroom. There's a distance learning policy for students as well that you are required to sign. If you were here first semester, you already signed it, and then this is maybe a good reminder. With this being an important thing, the three main expectations in middle school is be respectful, be responsible, and be safe. And then this is a very long document in which we explain everything that I quickly walk through in this video. You can see that here as I scroll through this document, and you are asked to sign this, an honor code for distance learning, and some talk about how we use technology, and then the date and signature. You can actually sign it digitally. If you're a new student, just click on this link that will take you to a Google form where you can just say, yes, I agree with these documents or with this document, and then you're done with that. So if you're a returning student after the break, so you have been in first semester here already, then just ignore this piece because you've already done that. Then we use Sycamore as well as a student information system. So this is the link to your where you can find your Sycamore account, apps.sycamoreschool.com, and our school ID is 2721. You can log in with your Google details, and you can find your schedule there. You can find your grades over there as well, and some other things that I will not go into now. Like students are already at Faith Academy, know the ins and outs of Sycamore, and the new students can sort of discover as they go. If you need some more training and help in the distance learning model, some tech training, you can click on this document that will take you to the tech training for distance learning, the student version. So you can watch these videos about Google Docs for beginners, Google Slides, Google Drive, Gmail, taking a screenshot, how to do that on a PC, Mac, or Chromebook, Sycamore, some instructional videos, Google Classroom, video conferencing, and some other educational apps that we sometimes use. You don't have to go through this before the start of school. It's just more a resource and reference document. And there is a similar document for parents. As I said, be respectful, be responsible, be safe. We find that very important in middle school. Have respect for your teachers and for your fellow classmates. And be responsible with your work. So if we put in a lot of work, teachers put in a lot of work to provide the work for you, to design the lessons, to make videos, to review your work, give feedback, mark it. Then we would like you to also be a responsible student and be respectful in replying promptly to your teacher, submitting your work before the due date and time, and then be safe online as well. Don't provide your personal details to people you don't know. Keep your login information to yourself and the like. We also work with shout out forms. So sometimes or oftentimes we as teachers want to acknowledge and recognize your excellent work. We appreciate what you're doing. You're working hard, and the teachers can then send you a shout out that looks like this. It's a piece of paper, and obviously then it will be filled in. That will be done digitally as well. And you will find this as a PDF in your mailbox if you receive one. And then once every so often, once per block, at the end, the last Friday of the block during chapel, I will do a shout out raffle. So from all the students who received shout outs, and some students have received multiple, I will just throw them all in a bowl and pick one or 5 names out, and they receive a little prize. This is in a nutshell everything that I would want to discuss with you regarding distance learning that is starting next week. So if you have questions still, which I can imagine, particularly if you're new, please don't hesitate to send me an email, msd.principal@faith.edu.ph, or to Mrs. McKay, the principal intern, at msd.vp, it stands for vice principal, at faith.edu.ph. Okay, I hope this was helpful to you and that you feel ready for the distance learning block. And as I said before, we are praying and hoping that we can soon shift to a blended learning model where you can actually come to campus every other day. But for now, we need to stick with what we were used to during first semester. And I have my hopes up for a good semester, and I hope you do too. Let's make it count, and I hope you're recharged and fully refreshed after your Christmas break, and I hope to sort of see you online in our classes, advisory meetings, and our chapels. Okay, thank you so much. Bye.